When one thinks of southern Illinois, one thinks of recreation, hunting, fishing, boating, life in the great outdoors. But in Marion, Illinois, one of the country's newest short lines, a small railroad formed by the dreams and sweat of some very dedicated men, has its home. On this edition of Spotlight, we will tell their story, and the story of how the CO&E Steam Railroad is attempting to meet the needs of the community. After a tragic fire destroyed the historic depot in Marion, the CO&E moved their headquarters into this caboose, a symbol of railroading for decades. CO&E President Hugh Crane explains how he made the transition from instructor in Milwaukee to railroader in Marion, and how the Crab Orchard and Egyptian Railroad came into existence.
CO&E came into existence through an idea I had while teaching on an engineering faculty in Milwaukee. I was teaching engineering design and took my graduate students on field trips. And I had the opportunity to talk to various leaders of the industries in Milwaukee. In the late 60s, they gave me some shocking news that there was going to be an energy crisis and there was going to be a transportation upset where rail would suddenly come into the picture again. Well, when there was gas wars, it seemed a little bit absurd that this would happen. However, I became convinced. And while teaching my students, I used to always tell them, if you have an idea, that's a precious thing, go after it. And I finally had to do it because I couldn't tell them that anymore. How we got involved further, we did a little research project through the college. I did a feasibility study, met the people that are involved in the railroad, and we gave up our jobs and moved down here and gave it a start. We had to start with the passenger business because the biggest problem was the transition of acquiring a railroad. This involves a lot of governmental processes through the Interstate Commerce Commission and whatever. The first thing we understood we had to do was become a railroad, and the way to do that was to get the experience and get the knowledge of handling trains. And we felt that there was a need for tourism. We could get the equipment, and we got trackage rights lease with the Illinois Central Gulf Railroad to start the tourism project. And after that went on, we figured we'd have a chance to learn railroading and then get the break-off point where we could start to apply for the freight operations. We started the passenger in 1973 and had reasonable success with that as tourism was going through its growing pains. Sure enough, the energy crisis hit in 73, and of course the traveling public, they slowed down some, but we still kept going with our tourism. And again, the man was right with the industry that trains were turning around. There was more interest in rail transportation, and the time became right for us to apply in 1976 for freight operations. We were granted a car service authority in 1977 in the late fall, and we've been operating freight ever since.
One fascinating aspect of the CO&E is their use of a steam engine to power their train. Herb Soberg, Vice President of Operations, discusses this iron horse and what they must do to prepare her for a run in this bitterly cold weather.
Engine number 5 was built in 1946 by the H.K. Porter Company in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was built for the Central Illinois Public Service Company for their coal-fired plant at Maridosa, Illinois. It was used to shuttle cars around inside the yard. The engine was in service with these people until 1964, at which time they gave it to a museum in Wisconsin. In 1971, we purchased the engine from the museum, brought it back down to Marion here, refurbished it, and it's been operating for us ever since.
Now, this kind of cold weather, what do you have to do to the engine to get it ready for a run?
Well, the essential thing we have to do is we keep it hot all the time. In other words, we keep a fire in the firebox, keep the water warm. During the course of the shutdown period, after the engine comes in from a run, the fire is banked and all the water lines are drained after a sufficient amount of water has been placed in the boiler. In your fire-up process, you would get your fire going like you would any other time, and you would make a thorough inspection of the all water lines and air lines and things of that nature to make sure that they were free of ice, and you had water flow and air flow and for the bell and the water for the injectors and things of that nature.
Okay, how does the CO&E meet the needs of the shippers here in Marion?
The CO&E is a hometown railroad. In other words, we can offer to the shippers in the area, what you might say, personalized service. We're right here with the shippers. We're part of the community like the shippers are. Consequently, their needs are our needs, and we try to operate the train when it's needed on a daily basis, giving the shippers prompt delivery of the cars that they receive in, proper placing of the cars for loading, and also when the cars are loaded, prompt pickup and place back on the interchange for the Missouri Pacific to pick up. This ensures to the shipper in the area the least amount of delay in his shipment. Consequently, he benefits by getting the commodity either to his dock or from his dock to its destination in the shortest amount of time.
On this January day, we followed the crew of number 5 on a run to the west side of Marion. It is interesting to note that the men of the CO&E, with their impressive titles, are also the men who pound spikes and shovel coal into the firebox. And when problems arise, you might find them in the boiler making repairs. These men are totally involved in the line and in its operation. On this particular day, Chuck Rome was the engineer, Herb Soberg the fireman, and Randy Quinlan the brakeman.
Black smoke choo-choo, we know you're through today. They rolled out the featherbed diesel, that's what took you away. We're gonna miss your whistle, the tunes you used to play. You played that melody called Lost John to blow our blues away. Bye-bye, black smoke choo-choo, choo-chooing down the track, going to the choo-choo graveyard. You ain't coming back. When you wrecked old 97 and you pulled number 9 with pride. Bye-bye, black smoke choo-choo, you're gonna take your last ride. Smoke choo-choo, choo-chooing up the hill. Black smoke rolling from the stack, a whistle playing whippoorwill. Now you've been a good old choo-choo, you've run a wonderful race, but they rolled out the featherbed diesel, and it's gonna take your place.
Company can function without clients. We talked to 2 of the CO&E's customers, Steve Bly of Woolahan Lumber and Bill Kibler of Kibler Energy, and asked them about their relationship with the CO&E. First, Steve Bly.
One of the nice things, I guess, has been with the CO&E Railroad is the fact that since this is local service and those guys really hustle out there, we've gotten much improved service from them. It used to be that a car, say, in transit from the west under our former railroad would get hung up over in Carbondale, and it may have taken 2 or 3 weeks before they'd get enough cars or they'd decide to come out on the tracks from Carbondale over to Marion. So with our present situation now with the Crab Orchard and Egyptian, we can get pretty much instant service. The minute that car is dropped at Benton, brought down to Marion, it's almost delivered the same day, or at worst the next day. So this has helped us a lot.
Well, it's tremendous. It's not like any other railroad. I can order coal cars today. I can have them tomorrow. I can load one car or I can load 20 cars, and they'll come and pick them up and put them out on the main line the same day.
The CO&E is one of the country's newest short-line railroads, and as far as we can determine, the CO&E is the only railroad in the United States using a steam locomotive to handle freight on a regularly scheduled basis. The CO&E has just recently gotten into piggyback operations. Bill Onifree explains.
Well, the Crab Arch and Egyptian Railroad, as you well know, is strictly run by steam. It's the most economical way to handle a short haul business like this. And piggyback trailers brought the cost down for the shippers. And the Missouri Pacific Railroad also has been very instrumental in working with the Crab Arch Railroad to handling the piggyback trailers and the flat cars to get the equipment in here, has made it really rate-wise economical for the shippers to use piggyback from the Crab Arch and Egyptian Railroad. Now, the Crab Arch and Egyptian Railroad is taking delivery right now. We have the last of 14, which will be arriving in St. Louis this week, of 200 trailers, plus 50 flat cars. Okay, well, what this does, it doesn't sound like very much in a way of equipment, but it produces an interchange with other railroads that we send a trailer out, we're entitled to another trailer back. And it keeps a rotation of trailers and flat cars going. And under a department of what they call the AAR of the railroads, that these are constantly under watch with computers to make sure that X number of equipment goes out, X number of equipment comes back in. And if this is not the case, all we have to do is call this branch of that. It's a conglomeration of a multitude of railroads and that has this division set up. And we say, hey, we don't have our share of trailers back, get them back for it. They issue a directive or an order, and those trailers are, as soon as they're made empty or available, are the shortest way possible back to Marion, Illinois.
Daddy, what's a train? Is it something I can ride? Does it carry lots of grown-up folks and little kids inside? Is it bigger than our house? Well, how can I explain when my little boy asked me, Daddy, what's a train? When I was just a boy, living by the track, us kids would gather up the coal in a big old gunny sack. Then we heard the warning sound as the train pulled into view. The engineer would smile and wave as she went rolling through. She blew so loud and clear, we had to cover up our ears, and we counted cars just as high as we could go. I can almost hear the steam and the big old driver scream with a sound my little boy will never know. Daddy, what's a train? Is it something I can ride? Does it carry lots of grown-up folks and little kids inside? Is it bigger than our house? Well, how can I explain when my little boy asked me, Daddy, what's a train? I guess the times have changed. Kids are different now. Some don't even seem to know that milk comes from a cow. My little boy can tell the names of all the baseball stars. I remember how he memorized the names on railroad cars. The Wabash and the TP, Lackawanna and the IC, yeah, the nickel plate, the good old Santa Fe. Just names out of the past, I guess they're fading fast. Every time I hear my little boy say, Daddy, what's a train? Is it something I can ride? Does it carry lots of grown-up folks and little kids inside? Is it bigger than our house? Well, how can I explain when my little boy asked me, Daddy, what's a train? We climbed into the car and drove down into town, right up to the depot house, but no one was around. We searched the yard together for something I could show, but I knew there hadn't been a train for a dozen years or so. All the things I did when I was just a kid, how far away those old memories appear. I guess it's plain to see they still mean a lot to me, because my ambition was to be an engineer. Daddy, what's a train? Is it something I can ride? Does it carry lots of grown-up folks and little kids inside? Is it bigger than our house? Well, how can I explain when my little boy asked me, Daddy, what's a train?
What is the impact of this line on the community? Once again, Steve Bly and Bill Kibler.
I don't think there's any question. We know how it helps us specifically here, and also being a resident of Marion. Now, I think it's from the tourist standpoint and everything else, it's a nice little boon. We're getting to a situation where a lot of kids growing up now have never ridden on a railroad and probably won't have the chance. I guess I don't know what the situation is going to be with Amtrak in the future, but at least they can get a little bit of taste of the past and something that was pretty important, I guess, in American history.
The CO&E, to me, has a real bright future from the standpoint that there is no other rail service directly serving Marion, and we have no other point of loading coal in the Marion area right now except the CO&E. As you know, the coal industry is a booming industry, is coming on more all the time, and we expect to use the CO&E to put our coal on the line, the main line, which we have a connection with the Missouri Pacific, and ship coal all over the United States.
Bill Schreiber, Vice President and General Manager, has a most unusual home, as he explains.
Well, the car is a business car, or an office car, as the railroads termed them, was used by their executives in traveling about the railroad systems, conducting their everyday affairs. The car was originally built in 1912 for the New Orleans and Northeastern Railroad, and somewhere along the line it came into the hands of the Illinois Central Railroad, who used it for many years in various departments. And in turn it was acquired by an individual in Chicago who used it for a short time, and then he sold it to me. And since I had it, I've been using it for my living quarters, and occasionally we take a trip in it. As you may recall, Governor Thompson, during his campaign last fall, made a whistle-stop trip in this car from Cairo to Benton. And the car is basically the same as a private car, which was used by the very wealthy people in the days of railroad travel for traveling about. It has a lounge area, which we're sitting in now, and it has 3 staterooms, 2 full baths with showers, a dining room, a galley or kitchen, and crew's quarters. The car is 83 feet long and 10 feet wide and weighs 93 tons, which makes it quite heavy. It has been much modernized over the years. It no longer retains its 1912 styling. The ceilings have all been changed, air conditioning has been added, the window lines have been changed, and so forth. So the car is quite different, except for some of the interior wood paneling, which is still original.
What kind of feeling do you have living in this car?
Well, I've been associated with the railroads. I shouldn't say associated. I've always been interested in railroads. I never was associated with a railroad until I came down here with our railroad. But I enjoy being around railroads and riding on railroad trains, and it seems quite normal to be in a railroad car, even though it might, in this case, be my home also. But it does make it very nice when you want to travel. You don't have to worry about packing up anything. All you got to do is unplug the cords and tell them to come and get you and take off.
Hugh Crane talks about the future and the goals of the CO&E.
What's the future of the CO&E? I suppose that directly is influenced by what's the future of rail transportation in general. We feel that we're meeting a need here. We've already experienced it. When we first took over the railroad, there was maybe 11 cars per month left for the traffic here. We have now built that up where the last month we had a record of about 84 cars per month. We see in the next projected year this should double or quadruple. And that excites us very much. We've had many new shippers move on the line. People that were discouraged for shipping by rail, they've come back. And this, we feel, is the main thing. That's our goal, to serve the shipper. If we can have service, we can meet the needs. The next thing that has to be met, of course, is the equipment. The federal government has put out reports which say that by 1990, rail traffic will increase by 50%. Well, right now, everybody's hearing about equipment shortage, train cars, whatever. A short line like the CO&E is in a very advantageous position. We can get equipment. There's many big trust companies, insurance groups, whatever, that are putting their capital into railroad equipment. Now, they like to go through a short line railroad such as this because through the per diem program, this equipment is on our line for a short period of time and then it's traveling throughout the rest of the country, earning its keep. So if we can meet those needs by having equipment and service for our shippers, then we're helping out the general transportation picture. And this, of course, is our goal. And if it can be profitable, well, that's better yet. Right now, rail transportation in general is picking up tremendously. As far as why we're using steam locomotives on our line, we had to start out small, like I said. The total investment And our railroad is less than what a railroad would have to invest in just locomotives if they were to buy diesels. They are very expensive to purchase. We are in an area where coal is plentiful, and we have people that are expert in using steam power, and we find that to be a very good tool for the moving of our trains. As long as that tool is a sharp tool, we'll keep using it. If something else comes along that's better, we'll use that. We're not using steam as a nostalgia kick. It is serving its purpose. It causes us to reflect a little bit that perhaps a lot of other roads were hasty in getting rid of steam. Many other countries are using steam, but I think that's down the road and time will only tell.